of where the magnetic field has higher interference than other places. So here we're seeing greater interference than over here. Okay, so that's probably sort of in this area here. Maybe I don't. I should have made a note of that. This is the latest version. This version will only work with the latest compass. Okay. And if you want to extend the scale to sort of really see.
So if the compass calibration is acceptable, what's the result?
And that's unacceptable. So really we should go to another point. But maybe this is where we want to do our discharge measurements. You know, so what do? Do we sort of...
Yeah, we will encounter this kind of problem. The first step we cannot pass, so we cannot measure for this.
So some people would say, okay, what we'll do is we'll go somewhere away to a totally clean area, and we will calibrate the compass there, and then we will do our discharge measurements. That is fine, as long as while we're going across the channel, there is no sort of magnetic interference, or there is no sort of natural magnetic field. It might be that you have to choose a different side. The most common error that people make is they want to do a measurement from a bridge, so they do their compass calibration on the bridge. And where most bridges have a lot of metal in them. If you're a concrete bridge, they've got the metal reinforcements inside them. A lot of bridges are sort of iron bridges and everything like that. There are very few wooden bridges that haven't even got sort of steel bolts, nuts, screws, whatever in them. So I would never recommend anybody to do a compass calibration on the bridge, even if you're going to be doing your measurement from the bridge. Okay? Go down to the side of the river, away from the bridge, do your calibration down there, and then put the instrument onto the water.
My question is, if the calibration is okay, what's the figure show?
If the calibration is okay, what does it look like?
Yeah. So is it safer?
Okay, so it says it's passed. For a start, this will say it has passed, and then where we see here, this is pretty good, this piece. That will actually be the same all of the way round. Okay, you'll see a nice tight circle all the way round. And then we just see on here, this is saying what our calibration limits are on the pitch of the roll. Okay. So sort of that's around about 40 degrees, positive, negative on the roll, and 20 to. So Mark had a bit of a bias in the way he was holding the instrument for the pitch. Yeah. Look overhead as well. High voltage cables going overhead. You know, they can cause a big problem. Maybe there's I don't know what it's like here, but in England we have plenty of water pipes and that going, or power cables running under the river. Okay, things that you can't see. So you might be thinking, well, this is a perfect site. I'm still getting a bad compass calibration. It might just be that we move, 10 meters away. I was in Poland last week, and we were doing a calibration of the compass right next to the river, and it failed, and you thought all you could see was trees around. We moved, it was literally 10 meters, and we got a perfect calibration. We went back just to check it wasn't an error, so that first point, and we got exactly the same faults again. So there was something under the ground at that site, okay, that was causing a bad compass calibration. That said, an instrument where you're using bottom track only, okay, sorry, I haven't talked much about bottom track and the track references, but the instrument checks how it's going across the channel by using, we can either use bottom track or we can use the GPS. Okay? An instrument that is using bottom track only can still do a discharge measurement without a good compass calibration. When it becomes critical to have a good compass calibration when we are using GPS. We talked about that. Okay, we've already talked about this. Do we have to calibrate at every site? The answer is yes. It takes, what, 2 minutes to do it. For the sake of 2 minutes, you can just be rest assured with your data for that. We've talked about emptying your pocket, starting at 2 complete goals, aim to pitch and roll. We can do a flat calibration if we so want. If we're doing it on the boat, some people say, oh, it's really difficult to do a perfect circle on using a boat. Actually, it doesn't matter if we drift downstream and do that circle. Okay, that will still carry out that calibration for you. And as it's got there, remember that the calibration is only good for the pitch and roll to which we've calibrated it to. So if we've done a flat calibration and we've got very little pitch and roll, you really want to be making sure that you don't have any pitch and roll while we're doing our discharge measurements. This screenshot here actually shows for the older compass. So very slightly different here. We have this circle at the top starts off clear with white, and as we do our rotation, it starts to infill with green. And the perfect situation is to have it fully infilled with green. If you had sort of blues and whites in there, then you've got a slightly weak calibration. And here we see how it's passed its 2 complete circles, and this is showing the pitch and roll variation across as we've gone. And exactly the same here, it will tell you whether it's passed or failed the calibration. In this case, it actually passed the calibration. With the old compass, it won't let you stop your calibration before 60 seconds have been completed. At 2 minutes, it automatically stops doing the calibration. And this is the G3 compass that we just saw. A real nice thing about the G3 compass is as we're going across the field, in real time, we can see, if we plot here the magnetic error, this red line shows the data that's coming in that has got no effect from any magnetic interference out on site. Once it crosses a 3.5% error line, it will start to put a cross on the data there, and we'll get a compass alert being issued up here. The first number, the 5 in this case, is showing that there is, we've got a compass alert from the magnetic field, and the second one is for the pitch and roll. Okay. So in this case, this data really is quite unacceptable for the compass. In this one, this has probably occurred, there's probably a concrete wall at the edge here with a lot of metal inside it, and as the instruments got closer and closer to that, it started to pick up that interference. I talked magnetic declination. I don't know. You can go to websites to get the magnetic declination. You can there's plenty of good apps on your phones. The one I use on my Apple is just called Declination. It works simply well. Put that in. If you're using a GPS for your track reference, you will need to put in your declination in there. Why is it important to keep checking it? This is how the magnetic fields, the Earth's magnetic fields have changed since 1590 through to 1984. So there's some quite significant changes. If I go back one, that was what the situation was in the year 2000. This is just one site, magneticdeclination.com. And it will give you the current declination at this point in time. Set system time. A couple of things to remember on with setting the system time. There is the box to check for user PC time. Okay. Certainly in the UK, we're not allowed to set the instrument to use PC time. We always have to set it to actual clock time and to GMT. So all of our measurements in the UK are made to GMT, which you wouldn't normally get from a PC. The instrument records its data, okay, from whatever time, at whatever time you have set here. The file name of that data that you collect, though, the instrument, when we start a new file, it automatically gives it a file name of year, month, day, hour, minute, second. It takes that time from the PC. Okay, so you might have a file that starts at 12:30 according to the PC, but in the UK, if it was in summertime, that might say 12:30 on there. On the instrument, it would say 11:30, an hour before for GMT. So just be aware of setting that, and when you're looking for your data, particularly when we're wanting to start inputting this data into external packages and you're wanting to tie data together, it's really important. The data from the data time comes from the instrument. So set that instrument correctly. We can perform a beam check. Do you want to do a beam check? Sorry? Yeah, we will. We're just. We can do it in the air. It won't look any good, but we can certainly do that. Sorry? On the second, so we have the smart page and we have the system. At the bottom of the system, we have the utilities tab. We can have a beam check. So here we are just, this is using the 3 megahertz transducers. If I want to look at the 1 megahertz transducers, select those. And the center beam, the 500. Obviously, we're in air. We're not getting any good data coming back. So ideally, you're wanting to put this in the water and look at that. And then I've got some data files about it. But it's a very straightforward procedure to do that. We will. Yep. Most people, to be fair, never do a beam check unless they see something wrong in the data. And then they go back and have a look and do a beam check and say, why have I got, is it a problem with the beams? Okay. It rarely is a problem with the beams. Okay, so in air we saw that it was a flat line going straight up here. This is one that was actually done in the water. Okay, so we can see here, This is where the instrument would have been. It was where it was pinging. And then as it goes down through the water, the signal is decaying. System test. It just runs a very few basic checks on the instrument that certain functions are all happening. I don't know whether it's a requirement here. It's not a requirement in the UK for all the users to do this. It is a requirement in the USA. So if they want to produce the data in a court of law, they have to be able to produce something that says the instrument had its basic functions working as set by the manufacturer. And this just runs a couple of those basic tests. You do some of the possible system tests, fail messages that you get is the system battery voltage is less than 12 volts, the compass isn't working, the SD card's not working, the temperature sensor's not working. There are some other ones, but these are the more common ones that you might see. I said about formatting the recorder on a regular basis. If you get, particularly if you get this battery voltage less than 12 volts or the system compass isn't working, my first recommendation would be to format the recorder and then try your system test again, or just try connecting to it again. When you do a format of the recorder, it also does a hard reset on the instrument. So it will set all those features back to default, and we can start again. In the utility, we also have the ability to update the firmware. It's really easy to update the firmware. I won't say we do it frequently, but it is something that can occur once or twice a year. Different users ask for new features to be added in. They're added in. The firmware can be found on the website, the current version of the firmware is for release, as can the current version of software. The firmware will always have a .A79 extension to it. A really important thing though is to ensure that when you put new firmware on, you use new software too. In many instances, okay, people will update the firmware on the instrument and then think that they can use the old software. And then they phone in and say, oh, the instrument's not working and everything. And similarly, people download new software from the websites and don't put the new firmware actually onto the instrument. So you should run them compatibly. In some situations, new software will work with old firmware, as you would expect. But like with this instrument with the new compass in it, okay, if you've got the G3 compass, you have to go to the 3.8 software. The 3.5 software wouldn't work with that. Whereas the 3.8 software would work with the older compass. If you have an RTK GPS system, you can downgrade it to a differential system, and so just use the one antenna out on the water. So go to the utilities tab and go to the SonTek GPS option and just change it to differential from RTK. It's a very straightforward function. So making the measurement, done with this. When we're doing a discharge measurement, I've put there that a duration of 4 minutes or more is best. Okay? Now, regardless of the river size. Okay? Obviously, the wider we go, the easier it is to do 4 minutes or more. There has been research by the University of Illinois, the hydraulics department there, and they went out and they measured every type of river, from little 1 metre wide rivers to multi hundreds of meters wide river, shallow depths, wide depths. And they wanted to find out how long it took to get the mean velocity for a river, okay, whatever its size. And they came back with 17 minutes. Okay? So that's how long you need to be monitoring a river for to get the mean velocity, to account for the natural fluctuations or whatever, pulsations in the channel. Okay. With an ADCP, we generally say do 4 transects, and you take the mean of the 4. It fits quite nicely in with the 4 minutes. So if we do 4, we've got 16 minutes. We come up with a nice mean velocity of the channel. The problem, the ADCPs are great in that they collect multiple velocity data across the channel very quickly. We can go across the channel in 30 seconds and collect a very acceptable discharge data file.
So we look at
But we've missed the potential of a pulsation in the water. Okay, so it will very accurately say what that 30 seconds was, the mean velocity for that 30 seconds, but is it the true mean velocity for the actual channel? If we go across too quickly, we might find that the variation between the 4 measurements is actually greater. So by slowing it down a bit, we should find that our 4 measurements actually come tighter together, and the coefficient of variation between the 4 of them is greatly reduced.
So how can you know the 4 times the measurement is correct? I mean the error of the 4 times measurement.
Sorry.
You mentioned that every time you need the limit go from the left hand to right hand, at least you have to spend 4 minutes. Right?
Each one.
Each one 4 minutes. Yeah.
So this is
and
the
you
data.
made it 4 times.
4 times.
You gave me this data just before we started.
Oh, I'll get that.
Your data, okay?
Let me use the Chinese to explain. Yes. 这个资料是我们在元宝溪五里林桥，在2013年8月29号，应该是康瑞台风的时候。那这里刚好有4场，那应该2个时间就是差不多他讲的那10-20分钟内，可能吧，我有点忘记了。那他现在会用这个资料来做一些诠释，就是说我们量完以后去 check 一下。那这个那时候康瑞台风的时候 ，Can you show the photo? 200 cms 左右。
为什么来不及？
这个是滴水时候的五里林桥的桥指数的现况，它是一个应该是算排水的渠道。我可以看到它中间是有水，两边那个岸边的话是有一些草。刚刚早上 Mark 也有提到说，当你的那个 acoustic 的那个声波碰到草的时候，你可能要注意那个回来的时候资料要怎么做判断。那这个也是我们今天请这个原厂的技师来协助我们去做这个后处理的判断。等一下，这是 Top View， 这是 Google Splatter， 在那个这个是像他刚刚讲到桥，如果是钢桥或拱桥，那一边就会对你做 campus calibration 有影响。所以当时他们在做的时候是在桥两边，并不是在桥上。如果在桥上，它那个是铁质的，对于你那个罗盘校正就会有影响。所以它是离开那个桥面。
Where did you do the compass calibration for this?
Michael， 你对罗盘校正，所以你甲讲者。
We did compass calibration at the bank, river bank, so we avoid the steel
It failed the calibration. So we've got a failed calibration. So it records this with every file. It records what you've done on your compass calibration. So there it is. It failed. And because it was so wildly out, it was quite significantly out. Actually, that's why we've started to see these variations in the discharge. You'll notice that it's going one direction. We've got basically so where we're going from left to right, we pretty much have the same values. 0.7 of 1%. Okay, and if we go from the other side, we have again 0.7 of 1%. If we actually put all four of them together, we end up with a 10% variation between the five. Even though, so we have a mean of 219. And that mean of 219 is probably pretty accurate. Okay, yeah.
But we failed the compass.
But it's failed the compass calibration. Okay.
So we use the bottom track, right?
You can, yes.
So when we lose the
We are using bottom track there. I know I said earlier it's, but we are so far off on our compass calibration. It's when we have a zero. Let me go back to that. I'll just show you. It's showing zeros here for the magnetic influence and the magnetic field. All is zero. It actually has applied no calibration into there. Okay. So that's what's wrong in there. So I don't. The problem is, we also, if you haven't given me the compass calibration file, we could actually, if we had it, have opened up your compass calibration file and actually had a look how the calibration actually went. Okay. But we haven't got that data here, so I can't look at that.
The file is what's the compass
extension?
I can think of the new one.
because it's the old version of the compass.
That's the old version of the compass for sure, yeah. So if I go,
another question is what's the acceptable angle for this full-time I mean
Back and forth.
yeah.
I-
Acceptable.
No, I understand it's 5%, it's just, around the world is different, obviously, the EA. I'll let you answer that question.
there is no international standard.
No internet.
There isn't yet.
Okay.
They keep trying to do it, but manufacturers such as SonTek keep changing the instruments so regularly that the international standard can't keep up. The best practice is 4 measurements within 5%
5%.
of each other. Personally, with the M9, I look to achieve 2%.
And I can
If you've got a good site, you should get 2% or better. Okay?
But this case, it just
No.
no.
I would have redone this measurement at this site.
We're done.
I would have redone that.
Okay.
If you don't achieve 5%, okay, the best practice for most users around the world is to do a minimum of 2 more, but ideally 4 more measurements, and to see what the coefficient of variation is then. If you still haven't brought it down, they would say, okay, there are natural fluctuations in the channel that are making the variation to be so great.
Well, it could be draining, or it
Could be draining, absolutely.
There could be
Yeah.
other reasons for this.
Yes, not just
But in
fluctuation.
20 minutes, can the voltage change so much?
Yes, depends on the channel.
Depends on the channel.
It really
So it's
is.
possible.
Yes.
If there's a rainstorm and all of a sudden the water is flowing through, that's one.
If you think back to the international standard for current meters, for mechanical current meters,
Oh,
okay, they would say to do 20 positions, stations across the channel, plus the 2 edges, and then you would do either 1, 2, 3, 5 points in each vertical, depends on again what the channel is. But if the water level is rapidly rising or rapidly falling, there is a criteria that allows for doing 5 points. Okay, because it's seen that to do 5 points more quickly, okay, will give you a better feel on the actual discharge at a point in time than doing the measurement correctly, okay, which might take you 3 hours, and your start discharge might be very different from your end discharge.
Okay, actually in this field site,
Yep.
we also installed the water gauge.
Okay.
Yeah. So during the measurement, if I'm not wrong, the water level does not change so significantly.
Yep.
It's almost the same.
Okay.
So the flow discharge should be almost the same. So in that condition, you say 5% is acceptable.
Yep.
The error of 5% is
That's what the international best practice would say.
best.
Best practice. Okay. Doesn't matter what make of instrument. Okay.
Okay.
While we've got this picture up here, if the first moment that this river started to rise and we started to get a lot of water over the whole channel, this will cause a lot of problems for bottom tracking. Okay?
Because of the vegetation.
Because of the vegetation. So, you know, if I was going to this site, okay, to do a measurement early on in the season, or, you know, early on in the rain season or whatever, when there's going to be a lot of this here before it's been killed off or it's been washed away or whatever, anything like that, I would definitely be thinking I will probably not be able to do a bottom track, a moving boat method, just using bottom track. Okay, so I would be thinking here I'm either going to have to use GPS as my reference, or I'm going to have to use the stationary method of doing a measurement at this site.
Or you go out with a lawnmower.
Mark's available for that one.
I'll mow the lawn.
I say 4 minutes, but if you've got a really narrow channel, it's actually really difficult to drag a boat across from this side to that side in 4 minutes. It's really, really difficult. And you end up doing, you know, they're trying to go so slow, the boat is doing this all the time. Okay? And then the movement of the boat actually becomes much greater than the movement of the water. Okay? And so we're starting to introduce potential errors into the measurement. So in that case, I would sort of say, forget the 4 minutes and just do a nice smooth crossing of the channel. Okay? So this best practice, you know, it's an ideal thing, but we've got to be realistic. Okay. The instrument, you know, it's actually collecting total movement, and it's subtracting the track movement, the movement of the boat, away from the total movement to give us our water velocity. So if our boat movement is 90% of the total movement, then we're actually getting a really poor value on our velocity measurement. Okay.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is it allowed to see the data only by just finding the deviation between different measurements?
No. It'd be nice if it was, wouldn't it?
How it works of the products of RDI? Do you know?
Sorry, say that last again.
Do you know how it works in of the products of TRDI? To do the QC data.
Yeah,
How do we do it differently?
I wouldn't.
Because another company,
Okay.
TRDI, they have the software to help the user to do the quality QC. And my colleague want to know in SonTek, do you provide a similar thing?
No, we
No.
do not. And we'll give some
But-
recommendations as to how we look at that.
Okay. That's
Okay.
another way to.
It is.
to-
It's a
yeah.
totally different way.
Yeah. It's okay. You also can tell us how you evaluate the quality of the data.
Okay. So this particular file here, or these files.
Okay.
Okay. The very first thing, you look at this, and does it look sensible? That's the very first thing. This file, you might think, oh, that's not too bad. Now this one's slightly different. Slightly different again on the track. And here we have the GPS.
You may need to feature the first figure, the second.
Yeah, we'll come to that. But generally, if we just quickly look through the four files, you sort of say, okay, how similar are they in appearance to each other?
This is the
Okay.
first check in
Okay, first the check.
First check. So the top one, I've set it up, we're looking at bottom, the depth being read from the four bottom track beams, and the depth from the vertical beam.
The blue ones.
The blue is from the vertical beam, the green from the four bottom track beams. It doesn't have to be that up in that top window. We can change that.
Can you make a list?
We'll come back. There is a list later. Yeah, you can do. But
Up to you.
yeah, we'll come back to that.
We're probably
We're probably going a bit out of sequence here as to things that we should be thinking about. We'll look at those later. But typically, I just sort of say, okay, does the channel shape look correct? Okay.
Channel shape.
Does the track that the boat took across the water look correct? Okay. And does the velocity look correct? I know this is all very simple, but the first checks are very straightforward ones. Okay. So we can quickly tab through those. And we immediately see that the top four, so the channel shape looks pretty similar. Okay. We've got a difference between from the green, the blue, we have a different channel shape here. That's because the blue is the vertical beam, and it is picking up exactly how the channel is actually shaped. So there's probably a wall or something, some structure here. The vertical, the bottom track, the four beam average, hasn't picked that up because it is that. It's an average of the four depth measurements. So it smooths it all out. Okay. But other than that, if we go across, if I just do tab, we generally see that shape. If I just go to this, if I tab between this one and the previous one, if you look, what's that showing up there? The bottom track, the vertical beam here, and the vertical beam, we've actually lost the vertical beam there. That's a really good indication that we've got a vertical wall, because as you're coming in one direction, okay, the beam spread is going out like this. As we're coming from this direction, it doesn't quite see that vertical side. Whereas if we're coming from the other direction and we approach that vertical wall, the beam spread, it picks it up. Okay? So here, this is probably coming from here across this way, from right to left.
So
Whereas this one has probably come from left to right.
So when we lose the vertical beams data, so we use the.
What happens with the instrument? we have the instrument has been set here to have its default to be the vertical beam, to be its depth measurement. Okay? If it loses vertical beam data, it will then infill that data with data from the 4-beam average.
Okay.
Okay?
Automatically.
So if we go to samples, let's run down. If I go to the samples tab, so here we've got depth, but we haven't got any. So I'm just adding into this table the parameters vertical beam depth and bottom track depth. And let's sample 100. Okay, we see we have a value of 0 for the vertical beam. Yeah, and that's where it couldn't detect. Okay, so what it will have done is it will have infilled as 408 from the bottom track depth. So we see we have 408 there.
Okay.
That's been infilled. We then sort of look at the transect data. Does the transect look about right? Now we've been using the bottom track here. An immediate rule of thumb, I would say, is on bottom track data. If you have bottom track data that is going upstream, that looks like it's going upstream, question it. Okay?
We talked about that earlier today.
Yeah, it's moving back.
The moving bed.
It is moving upstream. Because the
Okay, it's not.
button trace blue line.
I'm not saying it was a moving bed, but it's certainly something that you should be considering.
Okay.
Okay? The instrument doesn't know, assumes that the bed cannot move. Okay? So actually, if the bed is moving, it is going downstream. The bed doesn't, the instrument doesn't know that, so it is going upstream. So any upstream movement of the data on the question, do you have a moving bed? We'll come back to some of these checks later. Yeah. This one, this is just bad GPS data. The purple that there, it has got a multipath error from the GPS.
We talked about multi-path response.
Yeah, the GPS data scanner.
Sorry, the GPS we'll definitely talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Right. Different boats. This is actually, this is quite important as well. Well, it's not quite, it's very important. We have, this is, are all of your boats these ones? Okay. Different boats work really well in different water conditions. These are just 4 of the ones that are available through SonTek. Okay? We can have the 2 trimarans, we can have the hydro board, and we can have what is called the torrent board. All 4 have different benefits. Sorry. The hydro board was designed for really unfortunately this isn't that turbulent, but it was designed for turbulent water, fast-flowing, turbulent water. About, up to about 6 meters a second. Okay?
6 meters.
Okay, yeah. It's particularly designed that even when it goes under the water, and the guy who was controlling this was trying to get it to go under the water. Okay?
I think it does seem right here.
It starts to, and it just pops out here. Okay? So with this one, in that situation, that would have continued to go down. Okay? It would have started to submarine. This is the old hydro board. Okay?
This is all hydro.
Old hydro. We don't do this one anymore. You know.
Oh,
We can't do it.
That's the old one.
This, sorry, this is, I thought I had a really good video here. This was us out in San Diego Bay, towing the new hydro board behind a high-speed boat. And we were getting it into the wake of the boat and everything, and we were trying to get it to tip over. We didn't succeed. Okay? Here's a video from France. These users, they had never been able to do a discharge measurement with an ADCP at this site before. And it's not because the other ADCPs and the other manufacturer wasn't any good. It was because once you got over into this wave at the far side, and with the sediment load in there, it just wasn't able to cope. Now this isn't particularly rough. You know, this is, I think it's pretty average. You can see actually that the board does handle it very well. But they were really happy with this. As I say, it's the first time they'd ever been able to get a discharge measurement at that site. They were so happy they sent the video into us. Here we have a tri-hole going across, again, a really quite straightforward situation. And it's terrible, but it's their fault. It's not the board's fault or the tri-hole. Where they've got it connected at the wrong point. This is the same site 4 minutes later with a board. Really straightforward. Okay. Effortless. But as I said, it's not necessarily the fault of the tri-hole. This is from the USGS. You know, this is the standard setup that you've got here. This board, this tri-hole is designed for about 2.5 meters a second. That's all. Yeah. This was just over 2.5 meters a second.